Warning, this video contains subjectivity. Well, how could it not? A headphone amplifier that looks like this, Class A tube design and absolutely built for tube rolling. I shall now unbox. Oh, before I do that, let me tell you that I'm going to give you some audio demonstrations later. Yes, audio demonstrations. Unbox. So, I mentioned subjectivity. Normally, I'm a specifications guy. If it measures good, it sounds good. When I'm making my music, though, if you could call my irritating background noise music, I'm looking for texture, distortion, wacky, weird noises I can play with. And when I'm done, I check my work through wide frequency response, low distortion, low noise, no other problems, gear. I am therefore subjective all the way when I'm creating music. But when I'm listening, I want clean, clear, surgical precision. Normally. But hey, I want to have some fun too. And fun, I think, is what the Apos Gremlin headphone amplifier is. To hell with accuracy, though the specs absolutely check out in this regard. I want fun. The first thing you'll notice about the Gremlin is that it's all on show. All the resistors, capacitors, diodes, tubes, and what I think could possibly be transistors. But we won't talk about that, will we? It's all about the tubes. So should I call this a minimalist design, seeing as there's no actual case, and I don't call two slabs of perspex a case? I'm not going to call it futuristic because, come on, who wants a caseless future across the range of equipment we use? But I am going to call it bold. It'd be impossible to say that the Gremlin doesn't stand out from the crowd. Also, considering this as a one-off, and I don't want all equipment to be this way, I like seeing the works on show. The kimono has never been open wider than this. And if you take a look at the bottom of the PCB, bloody hell, this is complicated. I'm sure everything is there for a reason. Actually, it will be interesting to take a tour conducted by someone who knows and understands the circuit. But I doubt that's going to be me anytime soon. I have to mention it, the tubes are illuminated. There'd have to be something really quite wrong for them to be glowing like this all by themselves. But if the Gremlin is to look good, which it should, and it does, hey, I don't mind a bit of yellow LED. It isn't overdone, but it would have been a nice touch for them to ramp up in brightness gradually as the tubes warm up. Oh, the green glow underneath. Well, it does nothing, but you can switch it on or off as you please. I don't mind it. If I have a summary on the look and feel of the Gremlin, everything seems very high quality. Nothing cheap, everything cheerful. Well, cheerful in the sense that this is an object to take pride in owning. But I'll come back to that later. If we look around the back, we see two 3-pin XLR sockets for balanced inputs. Balanced? Well, professionally, yes, I know perfectly the advantage of balanced connections and cables, with long cable runs and potentially working around dodgy lighting dimmers. I'd say, though, that the advantage in hi-fi isn't so much, unless maybe you live near a radar installation, which I once did, so I know. But fret ye not if you're not balanced. You can input an unbalanced signal and it will work just fine. The internet will help you out on connector wiring. What's unusual though, at least to me, is the 4.4mm Pentacon connector on the input too. Yes, 4.4mm for balanced headphone outputs is coming to be commonplace. On the input I'd probably say why not? I don't think I'd be alone though if I said that a pair of unbalanced inputs wouldn't have gone amiss. Not a big deal though. Now, the outputs. A single 4-pin XLR. Perfect. I used a 4-pin XLR for my own balanced headphone amp back in the 1980s. 4.4mm Pentacon connector, also perfect for balanced headphones. Actually, can I digress a little and say that all headphones are inherently balanced? It's if the two drivers share a ground connection in the cable or connector that makes them unbalanced. 2 wires to each driver, you're balanced. Anyway, if your headphones are unbalanced, then you'll need an adapter to go from the 4.4mm balanced output to a 3.5mm or 1/4-inch stereo jack socket. What worries me, though, is that I'd bet it's quite easy to buy an adapter that shorts one leg of the balanced output to ground. I'd expect the Gremlin to have protection against this, but clearly it wouldn't be the right way to go. This is a topic I'd have to look into more thoroughly to give you chapter and verse. But I've been doing my listening tests with balanced headphones, so it hasn't been an issue for me. As yet. You have to laugh sometimes. Apparently it has been said that tube rolling is too difficult because you have to remove the top plate. Guess what? I removed the top plate and rolled the tubes. Whether or not tube rolling is a useful or fun pastime, the fact is that it's possible and indeed encouraged is a clear bonus for the active audiophile. Of course you can roll tubes in any tube equipment, but you have to know what you're doing and the results may be hit and miss. But with the Gremlin, it's laid out on a whole smorgasbord for you. So you can buy a Gremlin. The price I see today is $120 USD. That will get you the Gremlin fitted out with a matched pair of Ray Tubes 12AU7s, Core as they call them. Or for $270 USD you can have Ray Tubes 12AU7 again, but in the Select version, also a matched pair. I'm not quite clear whether for $270 USD you get both sets of tubes. I was sent the standard Gremlin plus a pair of Select tubes, so that's what I received as a reviewer. Anyway, Core or Select, you're already on a roll, but you can also use 6922 tubes via a jumper on the circuit board. So with the necessary USD or GBP, you already have 3 ready-made options to get you started on your tube rolling career. It's worth considering what you might get from the extra $150 USD for the Select tubes. Well, hopefully you'll get a different sound texture that you'll regard as an improvement. My ears are rather ancient, so I doubt if I could tell you anything reliable, but it has been said that the Core tubes are warm, full, slightly congested, focusing on mid-bass and mid, musical but less detailed with a lack of instrument separation. But if you roll over to the Select tubes, you'll get enhanced resolution, improved soundstage, width and depth, better layering while retaining warmth. That's what's been said. What your results will be, well, that's going to be up to you. And don't forget that there are other reviewers who will give you their subjective opinions. What's of interest to me is whether the Gremlin can drive my headphones properly. And yes, I can tell you absolutely it can. 1,250 milliwatts, no less, into 32 ohm headphones. That's more than a whole James Watt, and it will blow your brains out if you let it. And praise the heavens, this amp is specified down to 8 ohms. I've tested quite a few headphone amps and equipment with a headphone output, and although they commonly do sound fine into 8 ohm phones, it isn't in the specification. I'm a specification guy, and this is exactly what I would like to see. Anyway, if I can get a bit subjective for a moment, I'll say that this amp drives my 8 ohm planars loud enough, full enough, cleanly enough, and I would have no problem using it in production for my irritating unboxing music. Album available on streaming and Bandcamp. As far as other specs go, we have frequency response 20 Hz to 50 kHz, plus or minus 0.5 dB, which would qualify it for high-res audio status. Signal to noise 110 dB, channel separation 104 dB at 1 kHz, minimum distortion, 0.01% at 1 kHz. Now, there are lies, damned lies, and specifications. And when so much equipment is specified way beyond the limits of human hearing, you have to wonder what it is that those audiophiles with golden ears are hearing. Well, look at this. Minimum distortion, 0.01% at 1 kHz. That's one frequency out of the whole band from 20 Hz to 50 kHz. 50 kHz as in the frequency response spec, remember. What's the distortion at other frequencies? And as we know, any harmonic distortion inevitably leads to intermodulation distortion. So this lack of completeness in the specs does leave a space for keen-eared audiophiles to hear things that normal people can't. You want to hear what the Gremlin sounds like. A good question would be, how can you hear what I hear on headphones? Well, you can't, but we can get close. What I've done is make up a cable that has a 33 ohm load in each channel, close to the 32 ohms of many headphones. I then connected that straight into my audio interface. So I play audio through the Gremlin at what would be on the verge of being an unhealthy level to listen to. The Gremlin is loaded similarly to headphones and I record that. Okay, this test isn't perfect, but it's a start. What you're going to hear is the original track direct from my digital audio workstation software, followed by the Gremlin with the stock core tubes, followed by the Gremlin with select tubes. 30 seconds of each. Here we go. So, did you hear any differences, any benefits, any butteriness in the mids or anything like that? It's up to you to judge, and your ears are probably better than mine. But here's another interesting test. I've put a core tube in the left channel, a select in the right. Well, assuming that the tubes are orientated the same way as the XLR inputs. Then I've collapsed the source audio into mono, so both channels receive the same. Will the outputs from the two channels be the same? Well, you can hear this in stereo. One tube on the left, one on the right. If the tubes are perfect, there'll be a strong mono image in the centre with no wavering. I'll put up a vectorscope so you can see as well as hear. Did you hear it? I suspect you might have, even through YouTube's audio mangler. It's slight, but it's there. And where the vectorscope should have shown a very narrow vertical line, that line bulges outwards in places, showing that there are differences between the channels. Whether this shows that one tube is better than the other, or whether they are just different, would be a good question to ask. I've also done a null test where I subtracted one channel from the other, leaving only the differences. That didn't work so well because I only have 0.1 dB resolution in my workstation software, and I don't think I hit the null precisely enough. Anyway, I've put that in the download if you're interested. I think that the Gremlin is a nice little amp at a nice little price with these standard tubes mainly, but why do you want it? One good reason is that you only have a puny, pathetic headphone amp and you want one with more punch, and the Gremlin has it. Another might be that you don't have a headphone amp that has tubes to supposedly warm up the sound. That would be a good reason. But what about wanting a Gremlin just because you want it? I think here we're getting into a special kind of audiophilia, where you don't just want to upgrade and upgrade, getting closer and closer to that audio nirvana you dream about but never quite reach. No, you appreciate audio in all its dimensions, starting with the sound, of course, but also different ways of getting that sound from the source to your ears, and also to appreciate the craft of the audio designers who make these toys for us to play with. So I'd say that even if you already have a perfectly adequate headphone amp, even if you have one with tube jollification, the Gremlin would be a lovely thing to have in your collection. Yes, your collection. OK, I'm going to leave it there. As always, this was sent to me, but other than that and any affiliate links, there's no payment or influence involved. So I can say what I like, and I've said it. I'm off to roll tubes some more. See you soon.